Good afternoon everyone, I am Dr. Ankita Shaha. Today I will demonstrate the dural folds and the dural venous sinuses. For the demonstration, I have made a cut section which is a circular cut in the calvaria. Then I have removed it. Once I have removed it, I can see the coverings of the brain and the brain in situ. The coverings of the brain from outside to inward includes the dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. This is the dura mater. This whitish one on the surface is the arachnoid matter and the shiny surface, this is the pia mater. I have made cut section of the dura mater, which is the outermost layer, and I have reflected it. I have cut the brain stem and I have removed the brain. Once I remove the brain, I can see the interior of the skull. This is how the dura mater is present. The dura mater consists of two layers, the outer endosteal and inner meningeal layer. This rough part is the endosteal layer lining the periosteum of the skull. This shiny part is the meningeal layer. Usually the two layers are closely adherent to each other except where the meningeal layer infolds itself to form the dural folds, and in between the two layers there is presence of dural venous sinuses. So, let us first see the dural folds. The first dural fold which we can appreciate here, this is the sickle shaped falx cerebri. I have cut the anterior attachment of this dural fold and have reflected it backward. This falx cerebri apex is attached to the crista galli. The upper convex border is the attached border. The lower concave border is the free border. The attached border is attached to the frontal crest in front. Above it is attached to the lips of the superior sagittal sulci, and behind it is attached to the internal occipital protuberance. The lower free margin dips into the medial longitudinal fissure. How it dips? If I take a hemisection, this is the hemisection of the brain, I am putting it inside. This is how the falx cerebri is present, separating both the cerebral hemisphere by dipping into the medial longitudinal fissure. Now, many dural venous sinuses are in relation to it. Along its upper attached border, there is the presence of superior sagittal sinus. Along its lower border, there is the presence of inferior sagittal sinus. At its junction with the tentorium cerebelli, there is the presence of straight sinus. The superior sagittal sinus, as it approaches the internal occipital protuberance, it forms a confluence of sinuses known as torcular urophily. Now, let us come to the next dural fold. This tent-shaped fold is the tentorium cerebelli. It is semilunar in shape. It has got a attached border and a free border. The attached border, also known as posterior border, attaches from internal occipital protuberance, then runs along the lips of the transverse sulci, then superior border of the petrous temporal, and finally gets attached to the posterior clinoid process. You can see here, this is the posterior clinoid process. The free border, which is the anterior border, it crosses the anterior attachment of the attached border and goes and gets attached to the anterior clinoid process, and it forms a notch. This is known as the tentorial notch. Through this tentorial notch, midbrain passes and connects the forebrain with the hindbrain. Now, at this crossing of the free border and attached border, the portion of the dura mater lying proximal to it is pierced by the oculomotor nerve and trochlear nerve, and this area of dura mater is known as the oculomotor trigone. Now, what are the dural venous sinuses coming in relation to it? Along the posterior part of attached border, there is the transverse sinus. Along the anterolateral part of atlas border, there is the presence of the superior petrosal sinus. Now, there is another small sickle shaped fold. This is known as the falx cerebelli. It is present within the posterior cerebellar notch in between the two cerebellar hemispheres. This falx cerebelli is attaching from the, this is the foramen magnum. You can see the cut section of the spinal cord here, from the foramen magnum to the internal occipital protuberance. It contains the occipital sinus. There is the occipital sinus. The last dural fold is the diaphragma celli. If you look here closely, this is the region of sella turcica. This is the, can you see this whitish one? This is the diaphragma celli. It is a quadrangular dural fold extending from anterior clinoid process to posterior clinoid process. It is pierced by the infundibular stalk of the pituitary gland. Two venous sinuses come here. Anteriorly, there is the anterior intercavernous sinus. Posteriorly, there is the posterior intercavernous sinus. This was regarding the dural folds. Now, let us come to the dural venous sinuses one by one. The dural venous sinuses are endothelial lined spaces containing venous blood, either present between the endosteal and meningeal layer of dura mater or present within the infoldings of the meningeal layer. They are either classified into paired or unpaired. Paired dural sinuses include the transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, cavernous sinus, superior and inferior petrosal sinuses. Unpaired includes the superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight sinus, occipital sinus. Let us see one by one. Coming to the first one, this is the superior sagittal sinus. This superior sagittal sinus receives the superficial cerebral veins, mainly the veins from the scalp region, and it continues with the right transverse sinus. This is the right side of the cadaver, it is continuing with the right transverse sinus. At its posterior end, it forms the torcular hierophily. This is the next one, the inferior sagittal sinus. The inferior sagittal sinus gets a connection with the great cerebral vein of Galen. This is the great cerebral vein of Galen. They two unite to form the straight sinus. This is the straight sinus, and finally this straight sinus will go and continue with the left transverse sinus. This is the left transverse sinus. Both the transverse sinuses will continue with the sigmoid sinus. To look at the sigmoid sinus, you can look here inside. This is the sigmoid sinus. The sigmoid sinus lodges in the groove within the mastoid part of the temporal bone. The sigmoid sinus will go to continue as the superior bulb of internal jugular vein in the posterior part of jugular foramen. So, let us see the continuation again. The inferior joining with the great cerebral vein of Galen and finally forming the straight sinus. The straight sinus is present at the junction of the falx cerebri and tentorium cerebelli. Then it is continuing with the left transverse sinus, which is continuing with the sigmoid sinus. This sigmoid sinus is going into the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen and continue as the internal jugular vein. The important dural venous sinus is present on either side of the sella turcica, that is the cavernous sinus. The cavernous sinus receives tributary from superior and inferior ophthalmic vein and also from the spinoparietal sinus, which is present along the undersurface of posterior border of lesser wing of sphenoid bone. From the cavernous sinus, the venous blood drains through the superior petrosal sinus present along the superior border of the petrous part of temporal bone into the transverse sinus. inferior petrosal sinus, this is the inferior, this one, inferior petrosal sinus into the basilar venous plexus present within the base on the clevus or the basiocciput, and also to the internal jugular vein. Now, internal jugular vein is a continuation of the sigmoid sinus. It is passing through the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen. From the intermediate compartment of jugular foramen, there is passage of 9, 10 and 11 cranial nerves, and from the anterior compartment of jugular foramen, there is passage of inferior petrosal sinus, which is also the first tributary of internal jugular vein. The importance of cavernous sinus lies in that it is closely related with internal carotid artery and also to 3rd, 4th, 6th, 1st and 2nd division of the trigeminal nerve. Now, let us look at the cranial nerves. This is the first cranial nerve, which is the olfactory, passing through the cribriform plate. This is the second cranial nerve, optic, passing through optic canal. This is the cut portion of the internal carotid artery. This is the oculomotor nerve. There will be also trochlear nerve, which I am unable to see here. The oculomotor nerve and trochlear nerve passes through the superior orbital fissure. The nerve that you are able to see here, this is the abducent nerve, which also passes through the superior orbital fissure. The next staff of nerve, this is the 5th or the trigeminal nerve. It gives 3 subdivisions: ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. Ophthalmic passes through superior orbital fissure, maxillary passes through the foramen rotundum, mandibular passes through the foramen ovale. The next is the facial and vestibular nerve, passing through the internal acoustic meatus. This tuft, which is the 9, 10, 11 cranial nerves, passing through intermediate compartment of the jugular foramen, and this one is the spinal accessory part of the accessory nerve arising from the spinal nerve. This is the cut section of the spinal cord, this is the spinal part of the accessory nerve, and this last one, this is the hypoglossal nerve passing through the hypoglossal canal. Now, let us see the dural venous sinuses in the sagittal section. This is the sagittal section of head region. This is the outer skull bone. Then there is the dura mater. Some portion of the dura mater has been removed so that we can visualize the brain. This is the sickle shaped falx cerebri. On the superior part, there is the superior sagittal sinus. On the lower part, inferior sagittal sinus. The inferior sagittal sinus unites with the great cerebral vein of Galen. This great cerebral vein of Galen is formed by the union of internal cerebral veins and the basal vein. They finally give rise to the straight sinus. The straight sinus is continuous with the left transverse sinus. This portion is the cut section of the transverse sinus. The next dural fold is the tentorium cerebelli, which divides the cranial cavity into supratentorial and infratentorial compartment, and the main separation is between the occipital lobe of cerebrum and the cerebellum. This, in between the two cerebellar hemisphere, there is the presence of the falx cerebelli, which contains the occipital sinus. If you look from this side, this is the occipital sinus present within the falx cerebelli. Now, let us revise it quickly through the schematic diagram. If you see this schematic diagram, this diagram is showing the sickle shaped falx cerebri. Along its upper attached margin, there is the presence of superior sagittal sinus. Along its lower margin, there is the presence of inferior sagittal sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus gets a communication from the great cerebral vein of Galen and finally forms the straight sinus. Superior sagittal sinus at its posterior end forms the confluence of sinuses known as torcular hierophili. Superior sagittal sinus is continuous with right transverse sinus. straight sinus is continuous with left transverse sinus, and both the transverse sinuses are continuous with the sigmoid sinus, which continue as the internal jugular vein in the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen. This is the sphenoid bone lesser wing. Along its posterior border there is the presence of the sphenoparietal sinus. The sphenoparietal sinus drains into the cavernous sinuses. The cavernous sinuses are connected by anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. The anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses are present in the diaphragma celli. From the cavernous sinus, superior petrosal sinus drains the blood into the transverse sinus, inferior petrosal sinus drains the blood into the internal jugular vein through the sigmoid sinus and also into the basilar venous plexus. The basilar venous plexus has communication with the vertebral veins. All these dural venous sinuses are valveless and there is bidirectional flow of blood, and it is also connected with extracranial veins through emissary veins. Due to this, there is a high chance of spread of infection into the cranial cavity. When there is spread of infection from the scalp, there is thrombosis of superior sagittal sinus, due to which there is decreased absorption of CSF leading to increased intracranial tension. From the dangerous area of the face and orbit, there can be spread of infection to the cavernous sinus. The cavernous sinus is closely related with cranial nerves 3, 4, 6, first and second division of the trigeminal nerve, and also to internal carotid artery. Infection can lead to ophthalmoplegia, and it can also cause arteriovenous anastomosis, which is expressed as the pulsating exophthalmos. Infection from the ear can spread to sigmoid sinus and also to the inferior petrosal sinus. In however case the infection is spreading, thrombosis of the dural venous sinuses can lead to hydrocephalus. That is all for today. Thank you.